Hello, welcome to the show. Today we're discussing the Wall Street Journal article, Teachers Are Burning Out on the Job. Jacob, we've talked about this over and over again, and I would normally not pay attention to an article like this,
hmm
except for the fact that they brought up something in the article, and we'll link it in the description, that they brought up something in the article that I found interesting that none of these articles and discussions we've had have ever brought up before. So
Wow.
let me just say in general, these were the reasons they described as, or these are the reasons teachers are burning out that they listed. Student behavior, no shock there.
Yeah.
Student mental health challenges, not really a shock there either. But the third reason I found fascinating, the zero. Teachers are not allowed to apply the zero in the grade book.
Right.
That is a reason as to teacher burnout. So that was fascinating to me. And I guess I could say in general, I mean, we could talk about student behavior again. We've talked about this many times because there's
Right.
ways to address student behavior before it even happens. And I'm willing to talk about that um, because we can always review that. We can always review student mental health challenges, but I do want to say with the zero,
Yeah.
I know that's it's coming down from admin. Don't give a student a zero. If they don't turn it in, give them another chance. I will just submit to any teacher not to take that personally, not to worry about that. Don't give them a zero. Um, and just see how that transpires and recognize that that's not as big of a deal as it seems because they might turn in the work that and you applying a zero might hurt them and it might negatively impact your class. I would just say hold off on the zero and don't let it impact you mentally that you would be burned out and want to leave teaching. I'll say that I know that's a general statement and I have more reasons for that, but what's your take on the article
Uh,
and
yeah, it was
say?
an interesting article. You're right. It didn't bring up things. I don't think you mentioned the whole, and we've talked about this before regarding pay. That always seems to be thrown out there. Oh, I don't really think pay is one of the reasons that maybe it just adds to other things, to the whole barrage. But the zero part of the article, like you mentioned, I was really curious about what you were going to say because I know you've been an encourage I mean, you're a proponent of not giving zeros, right? I mean, and so I'm not sure, I think I've shared this with online before that I think it's been 2 years, maybe 3 years that I haven't given zeros either. And I thought everyone in my school was doing that, but I just came, Ruben, I just asked around, and there are teachers who are frustrated because they feel like they're being pushed to do the zero, but it's not a total like you have to do it yet at my school.
They're
Because
being pushed to
by the
not give
admin to not give zeros, right?
not give zeros.
And so they do feel, and I have had those conversations where they feel stressed. A couple of teachers at my school, and I think there's more than a couple that feel like, oh man, I have to do this. And I think the issue is this, Ruben, that the feeling is that the kids are knowing that they're not getting zeros anymore, so they don't work as hard. That so because it doesn't take too much to get the D minus. Ruben, there are kids who have told me in the last year or two, how do I get the D minus, right? And I think they just find what do the minimum I could have to do to get it. Now, obviously, that's not everybody, but I think it frustrates some teachers. And even though I still do it, I feel like, man, but then I think, you know what, I'm doing what they want me to do, and maybe I'm wrong. I just want to check it out. I've been just kind of monitoring what I've been doing, and I'll be honest, most kids do the right thing, but there are a few kids who figure out the system. They're like, okay, I don't have to do much here.
I
And yeah,
guess I would say to that is you don't lower the standard. You keep the standard high, sky high. but do what admin asks you to do, which is don't apply the zero and don't average it in. And I want to just go back then and tell and just encourage people in this way. The zero is saying that the student didn't submit the work. But my question is, and I think admins, I'm not saying I'm an admin, I'm not, but I think some people might ask, why didn't they submit the work? Did they not understand the work? Did they leave for a couple of weeks to visit their grandmother in another country? The zero doesn't tell us much. And when you average the zero into the work, it destroys the grade. It's not it's not helpful to the student. It's a semester killer sometimes, depending on the category and the weight in which the zero falls under. That's why I say the zero, you be very careful about putting in a zero.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but how do you speak to the kids who figure it out that way? I don't really don't have to do too much. There are kids that way. That's just the way they're made up of. I mean, hey, I only have to do this little bit because the guy
It,
doesn't give me a zero.
it's a great question, and this is my answer, and I'm not
Hmm.
saying it's going to satisfy you or anybody.
Right.
I think you need to consider what is motivating that kid, that student, and you might want to, not that it's going to solve anything, you might want to start finding ways to motivate them. Because if a kid is motivated by a D minus, there's something going on that you as a teacher might address. And it could be done in multiple ways. One of the things that I do is that I champion great work. So tomorrow I've been grading. I have a new job. We need to do a video about this soon, probably, because I have a job in which I am
Yeah.
grading more than I have in my life. I have all kinds of work that I have to grade, which that's what we do as teachers. But I want to bring out the great work that students are showing, are submitting. And
Hmm.
students, that's a way in which you can address that issue where there's no motivation. Maybe the student feels like their work is not even being looked at. I
Sure.
hate to say that because I know some teachers are going to say, I grade all the work. I'm just saying there's multiple ways to get there. And in my class, one of the ways is I give immediate feedback and I champion the best work. We should probably do another video about this
Yeah.
because there's multiple ways of getting there.
I think that'd be great. Can I add something? Because I feel like this article, if you would go a little deeper, I know at my school, Ruben, it's not just the zero, it's the situation. I teach seniors and I work with a lot of teachers who teach seniors. And the issue is this, let's say a student fails, a senior, and they can't graduate. But what happens quite a bit, at least my school, and I think a lot of schools, and it looks like we have a great graduation rate, is that they take a class online, right? And they take it for 2 days, and that all that work you did in the semester is done in 2 days, and they pass it. So then you see them graduate, and you're like, wow, they didn't do a stick of work, or they did very little. Even they didn't even get that D minus, even with the zero, without getting the zero. Like for me, there's not too many kids like that for me because most of my kids pass because I always tell them it's very difficult to fail my class since the way it's set up now. It really is. You have to um, do nothing pretty much to not pass my class, or do very little. But there's some other teachers who are saying, hey, it's just frustrating when you see admin okay these programs for these kids to get on for 2 days and pass the class that all the other kids have to take a whole semester. So these are just things that add up to the stress level for some teachers, and I understand that. I get it.
On that point, I don't have any way to address that because you're right. That's
Mm.
a problem. If a student can pass 2 days of online work,
Yeah.
what motivates a kid to come in?
what motivates a teacher to keep teaching? You're like, wow, the kids are figuring it out. And at our school, they figure it out, Ruben. That some of these kids who are like really don't do much work, they go, oh, I'll just take the class. I take the 2 day or, during Christmas break. And you're like, wow, and it's out of your hands now because now it's another class and they're taking it over again, but they're doing it in 2 days. So yeah, you're right. I mean, it's another issue, but the whole article had to do with teacher burnout, and we've talked about teachers burnout before. But there are a lot of things there are a lot of nuances, and this is one of the nuances is that hey, teachers get frustrated seeing kids not produce and admin not really backing the teacher in these areas. So.
Very good. Well, thank you everybody for watching this video and tell us what you think. Teacher burnout is a real problem, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, and don't
Bye-bye.
forget to subscribe to our channel. Press that button.
Bye-bye.